Where did you hear the Stevie Wonder song before?
Well, I've been a great Stevie Wonder fan from I was 8, and I followed, his career, and that particular song was an absolute favourite of mine, and just the lyrics, they're just so altruistic and humanitarian that there's no room for corrupt politics in them. They're just so pure, and I thought the first verse was written by this little girl, in 1875, and it suited. It was my introduction, and then it was Stevie said the rest. Well, it was that little girl's introduction. She was called Elizabeth MacKenzie, actually. She was age 10, and she wrote it, preparing you. Because in times like this, people need music to uplift them, and sometimes, it's a very powerful. It can be a very powerful tool for healing people as well. I mean, sometimes people are really needing confirmation about how they feel themselves, and they might be really confused. A song could say so much for a person that is going through a bit of a rough deal, and I think that Pastime Paradise says everything. It would come more from Gandhi's mouth than Heseltine's.
Billy MacKenzie from Outer National, that's Pastime Paradise. Your chance to win one of 3 autographed CDs of the album Outer National comes in the next segment of The Sound of the Times.
Radio tape, classic hits on Super FM stereo, 96.4 and 102.8. We're sounding great.
Sound of the Times, Billy MacKenzie in conversation about the album Outer National. Billy, you're working...
just one thing, Ward. I've always wanted to do that. Ward, word, word on your wireless.
Thank you.
Okay.
An ambition realised. Great. I'll put that onto next week's programme as well. That's good.
Okay.
You've been doing more collaborations with Yellow's Boris Blanc. It's a name that comes up with Billy MacKenzie's association quite a lot.
Sure.
Obviously, it must be a man you admire.
Yeah, very much so. He's a hard worker, and he can... The actual quality, when he's producing a voice, the quality that he can get is... no one else could capture what he does, and he's got a little magic button someplace.
I was going to say, it must be a secret button on the control
he must
panel.
have that, and he's great fun, and will work through things in a very intuitive way. And in fact, something really interesting, that I was over working with Boris, they basically phoned me up and said, Billy, are you available to come across and get on a flight? But what this was really interesting, that they wanted me over to... in fact, they hoodwinked me to come over, and I thought it was to do the vocal again on the Shirley Bassey track, Rhythm Divine, which I co-wrote, for Shirley Bassey. And when they got me there, they said, well, Billy, it wasn't that what we wanted you for. It's because Dieter has made this movie on Marilyn Monroe with another German producer, and would you rewrite Rhythm Divine, and i.e. put a new vocal to the backing track of Rhythm Divine, which was really, really difficult, and it's called the Rhythm Divine is now called The Child Within, all about basically Marilyn Monroe, and her life, and how she was such a tragic figure and such, and just about how she was used and abused by the industry. And that certainly won't happen to Madonna. But so that was really interesting, challenging.
How do you go about rewriting a song that you've already written? Do you just take the lyrics and change some of them so that they try and scan properly, or do you just keep the backing track and start from scratch?
Yeah, it was a totally different subject matter, and I had to just imagine that I wasn't singing to Rhythm Divine, which, as I say, is very difficult. But saying that, a lot of Associates material and a lot of Yellow material, you aren't, it's not just like you've got 3 chords and you've got to work within that framework. You can expand, and it's like if I was to remix quite a lot of Associates track, you could turn them into different tracks. So there's a flexibility just by the very reason, the very fact that there's there's a lot of sort of movement within the actual content. So it ended up, after the usual 20 hours and glasses of brandy and motorcycle rides through the Alps, the tracks were done, because they're done very, very quickly, very intuitively, and then that's it. You're just gone. We don't labour over anything. And in fact, I don't like working like that. If it's hard work, then it's not inspirational.
Mm-hmm. So was International easy to record?
It was different. It was very, very different in that we scaled the whole process down, because when I was working with Wild and Lonely, that was the one of the best studios in London that Seal uses, and George Michael and Paul McCartney and all these buddies. Well, not my buddies, but one of them.
Yes. All these well-known musicians.
That's right. And I didn't want to work like that again, because I found the whole process a bit sterile, and it was too industry for me. So I wanted to get back to a much more working with people that were a bit freer and weren't so 9 to 5. And so it came to my attention because there was remixes of Love Boat and Club Country that was put out by Warner's on Popra, and when I heard them I was very impressed, because it's not everyone that can remix an Associates track. So I'd found out that it was Moritz from my old friend that had toured with me in Japan in '85. That was with George Michael and Paul Weller and such. We all done this tour of Japan. It was great fun. And it was my drummer. And he himself is a really, really interesting character. He's basically from German royalty. He's Moritz von Oswald. His grandfather is Bismarck, the Chancellor. But, he never... he's much more street, and, I mean, he doesn't like... I think he's faintly embarrassed about his opulent background. Mm-hmm. He's very much a gentleman. And so he opened a small studio in the equivalent of our high street, that's what it was like. But the German high streets are disgusting. They're so plastic and hideous. but at the back of this there was a garage, and he had this just little studio, and we worked there, and we were working with him and another friend called Thomas Fellman and another mad German called Ralph Hertwig, and we just they were fans of earlier Associates material, such as Message of Bleak Speech, Q Quarters, etc. And they knew that, that it was in an area where it was, spontaneous. That's the best way that I worked, and so it gets the best out of me. So everything was just threw up in the air, and I enjoyed the whole process. It was quite a fertile, creative time, and also they were really, really talented, and it's great to be in company like that, because for a start I could just shut up for a change.